Welcome back to the Accountants Club podcast. I'm your host, Paul Redmond, and today we're going to explore why advisory services are not just the future of accounting, but the key opportunity for accountants in practice who want to stay relevant and add significant value, not just to their practice, but to their clients and their journey. And we're going to start off by talking about what is the issue here, or why is the accounting industry, what's the need for change, and where's that need for change coming from? And it's coming from a number of areas, this requirement to change. Obviously, everything grows and everything changes, and our industry has changed significantly in the recent 3 to 4 years, but it had been relatively static for a number of years prior to that. Like, we have been doing compliance services, and it has been and is and will be the bread and butter for practices moving forward. But the demands that are out in the world at the moment, the demands for extra services for their clients, the demands for clients wanting more information. And this is just an ever-changing world we live in today. And the accountancy industry had to change to stay relevant in what they were doing. And it's largely been driven by a number of areas. And the first area has been driven by, and where this came about really, was when COVID came about and the whole world was closed down, we turned instantly into advisors. Straight away, accountancy practices became advisors. And this demand and this expectation of how we're going to help our clients, how we're going to help ourselves, what's out there, what's available for people out there to help them stay in business, and just to know mainly that they have somebody on their side that understands what they're going through, because we were going through the same journey ourselves. So that was the first catalyst of where there was a major shift in the industry, and there was a major shift in practices. And the laptop lifestyle, working from home, all of that became the norm really quickly. So it was driven by a world event, but then we became the change masters for our clients, and we are the people that helped our clients and the people around stay in business. We became the news. We helped them claim grants and claim anything that was available to them. So that was stage one of that. And clients became used to this evolving service from their accountant. Their accountants were actually cool. They were actually helping them with information and being at the forefront of what was happening in their business today. Then the next thing happened, COVID passed, and a lot of practices, in a lot of cases, went back to the norm, and clients were a bit confused by this. 1 minute you're helping them with everything, and the next minute you're sitting back doing compliance work. And the next major shift that happened then is automation and AI. Now, automation has always been present in the industry. I remember working on sheets of paper, and we moved from that to Excel, and then the advent of computers being introduced, and we were told at that time we'd all be only working 1 day a week after the computers were introduced. We all know that that's not necessarily the truth. So the automation piece was there, but what magnified the automation piece came cloud accounting. So we were all going to be working in this place called the cloud that nobody really knew. It just meant that we were actually connecting our computers together. The people, traditionally weren't stuck into one place. That was the next big advancement. And then AI came in, and this is a game changer. And the talking that people have around this compliance portion of the business and around advisory, that's in the past. Now, we have to catch up with this, and the industry as itself has to catch up with the journey of advisory and with the impact of how AI really works in our own practices, and how when people talked about ChatGPT, the speed at which that has evolved is staggering, and the speed that everything else is evolving with it. So get on the train, and you want to be on the fast train or the slow train, the destination is still the same. So then what happened with the use of AI is that compliance work started to become really automated. So tasks that we were used to, like data entry, bank reconciliations, these are now all being handled by computers and by software and by bots and by all these great things. So for me, this is great news, but it also means that we as an industry have to adapt to that change quickly, and we have to get on board the train. And internally for the practice, this is going to mean it does mean huge savings in terms of time, but it means that the fantastic people that we have working with us in the practice are now going to have to reskill. And the reskilling is having conversations. It's understanding the ability to disseminate the information that we have and use that dissemination and sit down and talk to the clients about what the information means. This is what the future of accounting is, and this journey is here. And what we're trying to figure out is, how can we get on the train? How can we use this word advisory, and how can we move over from this advisory to the next side of this? And the other expectation is that clients want more than just numbers. They demand meaningful insights. And the thing about it is, they will get the meaningful insights themselves through the AI themselves. Now, a lot of people are using that to get their own meaningful insights, but they trust us. And they trust us because of things like protecting them from the governments in terms of making sure their bookkeeping is up to date and they're compliant with everything. And then we become those trusted advisors. So compliance work is like driving a car. And when you start the car, but you stay in first gear. And that'll get you to where it'll get you started, it'll get you up and going. But if you really need to shift the gears to move forward. So that's where our advisory services comes in. It helps practices shift the gears and move forward. The next big question is, why are advisory services, why are they the future, right? And from a practice perspective, why is this so important to us? A few reasons. And the first reason is that our practices are valued based on the recurring fees per client. So if we have recurring fees of 300,000 per client and we use a multiple of 1, that practice is potentially worth 300,000. If we can add in higher revenue potential with advisory services and the recurring fees go up, which they do by adding advisory services, you can actually double the value of your practice by doubling the fees per client. And it's all about higher revenue potential. And this is one of the main benefits from the practice perspective now, right? So the compliant tasks are really essential and they're appropriate. And I'm a massive proponent that this thing is going to stay here. I'm a massive believer. But advisory work brings in also consistent recurring revenue that you can grow over time. And this part we're not focusing on enough. The next big issue is why they are for the future, or why our advisory service for the future, is because we build better client relationships, because they see us now not as number crunchers, they see us as helpers. Another area is in terms of the team, and I think this is a huge one as well. We're encouraging our accountants and our bookkeepers and all the people that we have employed to speak to clients. We're encouraging them to use their talents. And their talents are so much more than the art of compliance work. Now, that's very important, and I keep saying that, and I will keep remembering that on this journey. I want you to understand that. So with my own journey, how we started looking at it, we started really small. And we started small by integrating advisory services alongside the compliance work. We began with small things like pick up the phone, talk to your client, say, look, I've been looking at your figures. I think there's a few ways where we can save money with you. I also believe that you can save tax. I do see that there's a number of areas which will help you immensely within your business. Come in, sit down, and we'll have a review. Now, I have never had a client not interested in saving money or saving tax or helping their business. And they are astounded at the fact that their accountant picked up the phone and rang. Now, this is particularly in the past. They like this part now in the future. And this is what the norm becomes. But the relationship builds really strong. And you will see your client retention increasing, and you'll see the revenue per client increasing and the relationship building. So we've had clients working with us that double the value of their business within 18 months with sitting down and working with it. And now the next part is, what does advisory services actually look like? What does the advisory mean? So let's look at a couple of practical examples. Financial health reviews, really, really simple. Cash flow management, so simple and so important to a business. Strategic business planning, sitting down with a client, asking them what they're trying to do, mapping out what they need to do over the short term, medium term and long term goals, listening to the client and getting an understanding of what they're all really about, and letting them talk. So for me, it's kind of like a lighthouse guiding through the rough seas. You know, compliance will keep the clients afloat and the practice afloat, but advisory services points that light and shows them that destination in the future where they can get there. And helping a struggling client with cash flow may seem really simple to us. And it may seem like something we can do, really, really easy. But this is huge for the client. And the cash flow cycle in nearly every business, especially if you're going through the 4 stages where you have a startup business, where you have a business that's looking to grow, where you have a business that's looking to scale, or where you have a person looking to harvest, as in sell on the business or move on for it. Every time you cross from one of those to the other, you're going to have to concentrate really on the likes of cash flow. So that's something everybody wants help with in shortening the life cycle of the cash within their business. And now this is simple advisory services. There is a lot of complex stuff like complex tax planning or advisory services like mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance, funding. All of these are expanded advisory services. But today we're talking about the simple ones that we can actually just shift and get started with. This can feel overwhelming when you're trying to start this thing of advisory. So my advice to you is start small. Offer a business health check or a cash flow analysis to just 1 or 2 clients and just see how it goes. Now, if you've passed this journey and you're ahead of these advisory services listening to this podcast, this is a way of just to reassess, have you left any gaps behind you? Can you go back and do health checks for everybody? Can you go back and look at cash flow analysis for everybody? And when you start productizing your service offering, it means that you can educate your teams to do a lot more of this. And the next thing then is use technology to free up time. Tools like Xero, Dext, Sage, auto entry. We're all used to those tools now that can handle, bank feeds. These all handle a huge amount of work for us in the practice, allowing us to focus on more advisory services. So what I would suggest you do is you build your first simple advisory product, whether it's a cash flow management or a quarter review, and just start working with the clients on those. And as you've started with your normal few loyal clients that will buy the service or they will set up the services, this then becomes the next part of this service becomes you're sitting going a little bit deeper, and then you're going a little bit deeper, and then you're understanding that your client is really starting to understand where you sit in the relationship of their journey, and that you're seen as a part of their journey moving forward. And even at the retirement, you're seen as a big part, and they now depend on you and your team to help them grow within what they're trying to do. We also look at advisory services on a bigger scale across the practice, but I'd encourage you to look at it on a client basis as opposed to a practice basis. And when you look at it on a client basis, imagine what you're looking to do with your own business, your own practice. What are your goals and wishes? What are you trying to do with your business? Are you trying to grow it? Are you trying to scale it? Are you worried about where the funding is going to come from? Are you looking at cash flow? Are you worrying about your own tax? How you're going to pay all that tax? They're the exact same things a business owner is worried about. Like, we're in the business of accounting as accountants. We're accountants. Are you a business owner who runs an accountancy practice, or are you an accountant? Are you looking at that the other way around? When you look at it as the business of accounting, you then automatically will transfer that thing straight into your helping with the clients. So just to kind of close off on this episode, if you're ready to start making the shift, as we said, the first step is identifying one client who could benefit from a financial health review. The goal is not to abandon compliance, but to evolve it beyond where it currently is. Advisory services will not only future-proof the firm, but also make it work a lot more meaningful. And if you have found any value in today's episode, there is a link below where we would like you to join the waitlist for the community, or there's also a link which will bring you to join the community, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. And you can join us, and we would be delighted to see you inside the community. And we have a massive amount of help and assistance to help you on your journey of growing your practice. Thank you so much.